Chapter 94 The Sabbath and History. When, and by what acts, was the Sabbath made? And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day, and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. Genesis 2:2. 3. What important division of time is marked off by the Sabbath? The week. Note, one of the most striking collateral confirmations of the Mosaic history of the creation is the general adoption of the division of time into weeks, which extends from the Christian states of Europe to the remote shores of Hindustan, and has equally prevailed among the Hebrews, the Egyptians, Chinese, Greeks, Romans, and northern barbarians, common nations, some of whom had little or no intercourse with others, and were not even known by name to the Hebrews. It is to be observed, that there is a great difference between the concurrence of nations in the division of time into weeks and in the other periodical divisions into years, months, and days. These divisions arise from such natural causes as are everywhere obvious, viz., the annual and diurnal revolutions of the sun, and the revolution of the moon. The divisions into weeks, on the contrary, seems perfectly arbitrary. Consequently, its prevailing in distant countries, and among nations which had no communication with one another, affords a strong presumption that it must have been derived from some remote tradition, as that of the creation, which was never totally obliterated from the memory of the Gentiles, and which tradition has been older than the dispersion of mankind into different regions. Horne's Introduction, Volume 7, page 69. 2,500 years after creation, the Sabbath was proclaimed, with the other moral commands, from Mount Sinai. Why did God say he had put his blessing upon that day? For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day, and hallowed it. Exodus 20:11. What befell the city of Jerusalem when it was captured by the king of Babylon, and all the vessels of the house of God? He brought to Babylon, and they burned the house of God, and brake down the wall of Jerusalem, and burned all the palaces thereof with fire. 2 Chronicles 36:18. 19. Of what prophecy was this a fulfillment? But if ye will not hearken unto me to hallow the Sabbath day, and not to bear a burden, even entering in at the gates of Jerusalem on the Sabbath day, then I will kindle a fire in the gates thereof, and it shall devour the palaces of Jerusalem, and it shall not be quenched. Jeremiah 17:27. After the restoration of Israel from the Babylonian captivity, what was said to have been the reason of their punishment? Then I contended with the nobles of Judah, and said unto them, What evil thing is this that ye do, and profane the Sabbath day? Did not your fathers thus, and did not our God bring all this evil upon us, and upon this city? Yet ye bring more wrath upon Israel by profaning the Sabbath. Nehemiah 13:17, 18. How did Christ regard the Sabbath during his earthly ministry? And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and, as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day, and stood up for to read. Luke 4:16. How did he wish to have it regarded by his disciples at the siege of Jerusalem, nearly 40 years after his death? But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. Matthew 24:20. What was the first effort of the Roman Church in behalf of the recognition of Sunday? In AD 196, Victor, Bishop of Rome, attempted to impose on all the churches the Roman custom of having Easter fall every year on Sunday. Bauer's History of the Popes, Volume 2, page 18. What was one of the principal reasons for convoking the Council of Nicaea? The question relating to the observance of Easter, which was agitated in the time of Anistus and Polycarp, and afterward in that of Victor, was still undecided. It was one of the principal reasons for convoking the Council of Nicaea, being the most important subject to be considered after the Arian controversy. Boyle's Historical View of the Council of Nicaea, page 22, 1839 edition. How was the matter finally decided? Easter Day was fixed on the Sunday immediately following the new moon, which was nearest after the vernal equinox. Idem, page 23. In urging the observance of this decree on the churches, what reason did Constantine assign for it? Let us then have nothing in common with the most hostile rabble of the Jews. Idem, page 52. What did Constantine do, in AD 321, to help forward Sunday to a place of prominence. He issued an edict forcing the judges and town people in the occupation of all trades to rest on the venerable day of the sun. See Encyclopaedia Britannica, Art. Sunday. Eusebius was bishop of Caesarea, and one of Constantine's most trusty supporters. Who did he say had changed the obligations of the Sabbath to Sunday? All things whatsoever that it was duty to do on the Sabbath, these we have transferred to the Lord's day. Eusebius' Commentary on the Psalms, quoted in Cox's Sabbath Literature, Volume 1, page 361. What did the Council of Laodicea decree in AD 364? The Council of Laodicea first settled the observation of the Lord's Day, and prohibited the keeping of the Jewish Sabbath under an anathema. Dissertation on the Lord's Day Sabbath, pages 33, 34, 44. But did the Christians of the early church keep the Sabbath? Down even to the 5th century, the observances of the Jewish Sabbath was continued in the Christian church. Coleman's Ancient Christianity Exemplified, chap. 26. Seconds. 2. What day was observed in the Dark Ages by some of the Waldenses? They kept the Sabbath day, observed the ordinance of baptism according to the primitive church, instructed their children in the articles of the Christian faith and the commandments of God. Jones Church History, Volume 2, chap. 5. Seconds. 4. We have seen that paganism brought Sunday to the forefront as a venerable day and popery gave it the title of Lord's Day. What claim is now made by the Roman Church concerning the change of the Sabbath to Sunday? Question. Have you any other way of proving that the Church has power to institute festivals of precept? Answer. Had she not such power, she could not have done that in which all modern religionists agree with her. She could not have substituted the observance of Sunday, the first day of the week, for the observance of Saturday, the 7th day, a change for which there is no scriptural authority. Doctrinal Catechism. This is also taught in nearly all Catholic books of instruction. Among the early reformers, were there any who observed the 7th day? Karlstadt held to the divine authority of the Sabbath from the Old Testament. Life of Luther, page 402. What did Luther say of Karlstadt's Sabbath views? Indeed, if Karlstadt were to write further about the Sabbath, Sunday would have to give way, and the Sabbath, that is to say, Saturday must be kept holy. Luther, against the celestial prophets, quoted in the Life of Martin Luther and Pictures, page 147. Note, through the efforts of those who opposed the Sabbath during the Reformation, Sunday was brought from Catholicism into the Protestant Church, and is now cherished as an institution of the Lord. It is clear, however, that it is none of his planting, but rather that of his enemies. The Lord sowed different seeds in the field, but an enemy hath done this, to lead God's people away from the truth. A proclamation is now going forth, however, to revive the truth on this point. Some will heed the call, and, when the message closes, God will have a people who are willing to recognize Him fully by keeping His downtrodden Sabbath. To these He will say, "Well done." Catholicism speaks Sunday is a Catholic institution, and its claim to observance can be defended only on Catholic principles. From beginning to end of Scripture there is not a single passage that warrants the transfer of weekly public worship from the last day of the week to the first. Catholic Press, Sydney, Australia, August 1900. Protestantism, in discarding the authority of the Roman Catholic Church, has no good reason for its Sunday theory, and ought logically to keep Saturday as the Sabbath. John Gilmore Shea, in the American Catholic Quarterly Review, January 1883. It is well to remind the Presbyterians, Baptists, Methodists, and all other Christians that the Bible does not support them anywhere in their observance of Sunday. Sunday is an institution of the Roman Catholic Church, and those who observe the day observe a commandment of the Catholic Church. Priest Brady, in an address, reported in the Elizabeth, N.J. News of March 18, 1903, Qs. Have you any other way of proving that the Catholic Church has power to institute festivals of precept, to command holy days? And had she not such power, she could not have done that in which all modern religionists agree with her. She could not have substituted the observance of Sunday, the first day of the week, for the observance of Saturday, the 7th day, a change for which there is no scriptural authority. Stephen Keenan, Doctrinal Catechism, p. 176. Reason and common sense demand the acceptance of one or the other of these two alternatives, either Protestantism and the keeping holy of Saturday or Catholicity and the keeping holy of Sunday. Compromise is impossible. The Catholic Mirror, December 23, 1893. God simply gave His Catholic Church the power to set aside whatever day or days she would deem suitable as holy days. The Church chose Sunday, the first day of the week, and in the course of time added other days, as holy days. Vincent J. Kelly, Forbidden Sunday in Feast Day Occupations, p. 2. Protestants accept Sunday rather than Saturday as the day for public worship after the Catholic Church made the change. But the Protestant mind does not seem to realize that in accepting the Bible, in observing the Sunday, they are accepting the authority of the spokesman for the Church, the Pope. Our Sunday Visitor, February 5, 1950. We hold upon this earth the place of God Almighty. Pope Leo XIII, in an encyclical letter, dated June 20, 1894, not the creator of universe, in Genesis 2:1-3, but the Catholic Church can claim the honor of having granted man a pause to his work every 7 days. S.C. Mosna, Storia della Domenica, 1969, pp. 366-367. The Pope is not only the representative of Jesus Christ, but he is Jesus Christ, hidden under veil of flesh. The Catholic National, July 1895. If Protestants would follow the Bible, they should worship God on the Sabbath day. In keeping the Sunday, they are following a law of the Catholic Church. Albert Smith, Chancellor of the Archdiocese of Baltimore, replying for the Cardinal, in a letter dated February 10, 1920, we define that the Holy Apostolic See, the Vatican, and the Roman Pontiff hold the primacy over the whole world. A decree of the Council of Trent, quoted in Philippe Laban Gabriel Cassart, The Most Holy Councils, Call, 1167. It was the Catholic Church which, by the authority of Jesus Christ, has transferred this rest, from the Bible Sabbath, to the Sunday. Thus the observance of Sunday by the Protestants is an homage they pay, in spite of themselves, to the authority of the Catholic Church. Monsignor Louis Ségur, Plain Talk About the Protestantism of Today, p. 213. We observe Sunday instead of Saturday because the Catholic Church transferred the solemnity from Saturday to Sunday. Peter Geierman, CSSR, A Doctrinal Catechism, 1957 edition, p. 50. We Catholics, then, have precisely the same authority for keeping Sunday holy instead of Saturday as we have for every other article of our creed, namely, the authority of the Church. Whereas you who are Protestants have really no authority for it whatever, for there is no authority for it, Sunday sacredness, in the Bible, and you will not allow that there can be authority for it anywhere else. The Brotherhood of St. Paul, The Clifton Tracts, Volume 4, Tract 4, p. 15. The Church changed the observance of the Sabbath to Sunday by right of the divine, infallible authority given to her by her founder, Jesus Christ. The Protestant, claiming the Bible to be the only guide of faith, has no warrant for observing Sunday. In this matter, the Seventh-day Adventist is the only consistent Protestant. The Catholic Universe Bulletin, August 14, 1942, p. 4. The Bible is your only safe guide. Jesus can help you obey it. Trust God's word more than man's traditions. Protestantism speaks Baptist. There was and is a command to keep holy the Sabbath day, but that Sabbath day was not Sunday. It will however be readily said, and with some show of triumph, that the Sabbath was transferred from the seventh to the first day of the week, with all its duties, privileges and sanctions. Earnestly desiring information on this subject, which I have studied for many years, I ask, where can the record of such a transaction be found? Not in the New Testament, absolutely not. There is no scriptural evidence of the change of the Sabbath institution from the seventh to the first day of the week. Drive. E.T. Hiscox, author of the Baptist Manual, Congregationalist. It is quite clear that however rigidly or devotedly we may spend Sunday, we are not keeping the Sabbath. The Sabbath was founded on a specific divine command. We can plead no such command for the observance of Sunday. There is not a single line in the New Testament to suggest that we incur any penalty by violating the supposed sanctity of Sunday. Drive. R.W. Dale, The Ten Commandments, pp. 106-107, Protestant Episcopal, the day is now changed from the seventh to the first day. But as we meet with no scriptural direction for the change, we may conclude it was done by the authority of the Church. The Protestant Episcopal explanation of the Catechism, Baptist, the Scriptures nowhere call the first day of the week the Sabbath. There is no scriptural authority for so doing, nor of course, any scriptural obligation. The Watchman, Presbyterian, there is no word, no hint in the New Testament about abstaining from work on Sunday. The observance of Ash Wednesday, or Lent, stands exactly on the same footing as the observance of Sunday. Into the rest of Sunday no divine law enters. Canonidan, Ten Commandments, Anglican, and where are we told in the Scriptures that we are to keep the first day at all? We are commanded to keep the seventh, but we are nowhere commanded to keep the first day. Isaac Williams, Plain Sermons on the Catechism, pp. 334, 336. Methodist, it is true that there is no positive command for infant baptism, nor is there any for keeping holy the first day of the week. Many believe that Christ changed the Sabbath, but, from his own words, we see that he came for no such purpose. Those who believe that Jesus changed the Sabbath base it only on a supposition. Amos Finney, Theological Compendium, pp. 180-181. Episcopalian, we have made the change from the seventh to the first day, from Saturday to Sunday, on the authority of the one holy, Catholic, Apostolic Church of Christ. Bishop Seymour, Why We Keep Sunday, Southern Baptist. The sacred name of the seventh day is Sabbath. This fact is too clear to require argument. Exodus 20:10, quoted. On this point the plain teaching of the Word has been admitted in all ages. Not once did the disciples apply the Sabbath law to the first day of the week, that folly was left for a later age, nor did they pretend that the first day supplanted the seventh. Joseph Judson Taylor, The Sabbatic Question, pp. 1417, 41. American Congregationalist, the current notion, that Christ and his apostles authoritatively substituted the first day for the seventh, is absolutely without any authority in the New Testament. Drive. Lyman Abbott, Christian Union, June 26, 1890. Christian Church, now there is no testimony in all the oracles of heaven that the Sabbath is changed, or that the Lord's Day came in the room of it. Alexander Campbell, Reporter, October 8, 1921. Disciples of Christ, there is no direct scriptural authority for designating the first day the Lord's Day. Drive. D.H. Lucas, Christian Oracle, January 23, 1890. Baptist, to me it seems unaccountable that Jesus, during 3 years' discussion with his disciples, often conversing upon the Sabbath question, discussing it in some of its various aspects, freeing it from its false, Jewish traditional, glosses, never alluded to any transference of the day. Also, no such thing was intimated, nor, so far as we know, did the Spirit, which was given to bring to their remembrance all things whatsoever that he had said unto them, deal with this question. Nor yet did the inspired apostles, in preaching the gospel, founding churches, counseling and instructing those founded, discuss or approach the subject. Of course I quite well know that Sunday did come into use in early Christian history as a religious day, as we learn from the Christian fathers and other sources. But what a pity that it comes branded with the mark of paganism, and christened with the name of the sun god, then adopted and sanctified by the papal apostasy, and bequeathed as a sacred legacy to Protestantism. Drive. E.T. Hiscox, Report of his Sermon at the Baptist Ministers' Convention, New York Examiner, November 16, 1893.